Hello, my name is Dayanara, and in this presentation I will be discussing key constitutional concepts such as the 10th Amendment, express and implied powers, as well as the supremacy and elastic clauses, and how they shape our government. I will also discuss how regulatory laws are made and enforced and share my thoughts on the role of regulatory agencies and constitutional amendments. The 10th Amendment basically says that the federal government only has the powers specifically listed in the Constitution. Everything else belongs to the state or to the people. This amendment reinforces federalism, meaning power is shared between the national and state governments. The textbook states that we police powers like health and safety, and then the crash course videos explain that while separation of powers divides branches, the 10th Amendment divides power between federal and state levels. Now, express powers, sometimes called enumerated powers, are those clearly written in the Constitution. They give the national government its basic authority, like declaring war, coining money, or regulating interstate commerce. In the textbook, the authors explain that the Constitution gave the federal government more power than it had under the old Articles of Confederation. Express powers are listed in Article 1, Section 8 for Congress and Article 2 for the President. In the crash course video titled The Constitution, the Articles, and Federalism, number 8, it describes how moving from the Articles to the Constitution gave the government real specific powers. They also explain that express powers are the building blocks of how government functions. They set clear boundaries so the system can operate effectively. Implied powers are not directly written in the Constitution, but they come from the express powers and the government's need to carry them out. They allow the government to take actions that are necessary and proper to fulfill its duties, even if those actions weren't specifically mentioned. The textbook explains that these powers come from the elastic clause or the necessary and proper clause in Article 1, Section 8. This clause has allowed the federal government to take on responsibilities that didn't exist in the 1700s, like regulating the internet or providing healthcare. The supremacy clause is found in Article 6, Clause 2 of the Constitution. It says that the Constitution, federal laws, and U.S. treaties are the supreme law of the land. That means if a state law conflicts with a federal law, the federal law wins. The textbook explains that this clause ensures that national law has ultimate authority, which helps resolve conflicts between state and federal governments. In the crash course, titled The Constitution, the Articles, and Federalism, number 8, the video mentions how before the Constitution, under the Articles of Confederation, the states had too much independence and often clashed. The Supremacy Clause helped fix that by giving the federal government a clear upper hand when needed, which keeps order in a system with 50 different states. Congress begins the process by passing a general law that outlines goals or broad requirements. These are called enabling statutes, and they give government agencies the authority to create more detailed rules, which are the regulatory laws we follow day to day. They explain how a bill becomes law through proposal. In the crash course government video titled Bureaucracy Basics, it explained that agencies act like mini legislators. They write detailed regulations that turn vague laws into something that can actually be enforced. I found it interesting that even though these agencies aren't Congress, they still create binding rules, which shows how much power Congress delegates to them. Once agencies create regulations, they also have to enforce them. The textbook explains that power in the U.S. is shared among levels of government, federal, state, and local, and each level enforces its own set of rules and laws. In the textbook, Chapter 3.1, the Division of Powers, mentions that the federal government enforces national laws while state and local governments handle laws closer to the people. In the same crash course video, Bureaucracy Basics, the host points out that agencies like the FDA or OSHA carry out inspections, issue fines, and make sure people follow the rules Congress passed. In the crash course government video Controlling Bureaucracy number 17, it explained that agencies have both rulemaking and judicial roles, but their decision can still be reviewed by Congress or the courts. I thought it was interesting how this ensures accountability. Agencies can't act completely on their own. So when someone disagrees with an agency's decision, for example, business fine by the EPA, that dispute goes through a process called administrative adjudication. That means an agency holds a hearing before an administrative law judge to decide if the rule was applied fairly or correctly. In my opinion, regulatory agencies both fit and don't fit into the framework of the separation of powers. They fit because they're created by the Congress, supervised by the executive branch, and subject to review by the courts. So all three branches have some control, but they also blur the lines because agencies make rules like legislators and enforce them like the executive. Personally, I think the US doesn't necessarily need more or fewer agencies. We just need them to work better. Regulatory agencies are important because they bring expertise to complex areas like health and environment and finance. Without them, Congress would struggle to manage all the details, but having too many agencies can make government slow and confusing with overlapping rules and bureaucracy. So I think the solution isn't in numbers, but in efficiency and accountability. First, an amendment has to be suggested either by 2/3 of Congress or by 2/3 of the state legislators calling a national meeting. Then, 3/4 of the state must approve it, either through the legislators or special conventions. This process is hard on purpose so that only important and widely supported changes are added to the Constitution. Some examples of constitutional amendments is the 13th Amendment, which abolished slavery in the United States and made involuntary servitude illegal except as a punishment for a crime. The 19th Amendment gave the woman the right to vote, guaranteeing that voting rights cannot be denied based on sex. And the 26th Amendment lowered the voting ages from 21 to 18, recognizing that younger citizens, especially those old enough to serve in the military, should also have a voice in democracy. I feel like this managed to show how flexible and complex our government system really is. Regulatory agencies make, enforce, and interpret the laws that keep our country running, all while balancing between the three branches of government. And the Constitution, through its amendment process, allows us to adapt to new challenges while staying true to our founding principles. Thank yous.